Okay, so ingredients that I'm going to use for the stir fry today, just because this is what I have in the house, are an onion, because onions make everything taste really good, broccoli, red pepper, and then this is Chinese cabbage. I really like cabbage in my stir fries, but that's just me. And the sauce, we'll use soy sauce, the hoisin sauce, rice vinegar. It actually calls for rice wine vinegar, but I don't have that in the house, so this will work. Sesame oil, garlic. You want to use fresh garlic cloves, not powder. So I buy the Costco size package of dice, so it's all pre-minced. You can buy much smaller bottles of this at a normal grocery store. And then a bit of cornstarch, which again is Costco size packaged, but you can get it in much smaller containers. And ginger root. So with ginger, you can absolutely use powdered ginger. I like to use the fresh root, but the powdered ginger will work just fine. And then I'm going to put, mine's going over cauliflower rice, and I'll show you that later. But I suggest sticky rice for stir fries, or noodles. I prefer noodles, generally speaking, but I'm going to do sticky rice today. Sticky rice is really good because it sticks together. So when you pick up like a fork full of your stir fry, the rice doesn't just sort of crumble away. It comes up in like a chunk. So it's super handy. Okay, so I'm going to make the sauce first of all. Actually, I've diced up the vegetables. So the onions I just kind of did in like so. The broccoli, I just broke it up into smaller, sort of more bite-sized pieces. The cabbage is just sort of shredded. And then the peppers just cut up into like quarter pieces. So, for the sauce. This one calls for, it's a third of a cup of hoisin sauce. And I will type out all the measurements for you. So that you've got the proportions. This one, I'm probably gonna double the recipe. Just because I like a really saucy stir fry, so I will double this. Hold on. Like I said, I'm not a professional YouTuber here, so excuse me as I'm doing this. So as I said before, hoisin sauce is a fairly sweet sauce, so this recipe is kind of a sweet and sour sort of stir fry. Ugh, you know what? That's almost out of my sauce. Alright, so that is this. And now excuse me as I scrape the crap out of this. Hold on. Okay, moving on. So that's the hoisin sauce. Then it is a tablespoon of rice vinegar, and I don't think I've opened this one yet, so no, I have not. Okay. So it is a tablespoon of the rice vinegar. And so since I'm doubling the recipe, I am doing 2 tablespoons of the rice vinegar. So just dump her in there. And then we've got a tablespoon, or well, 2 tablespoons, I suppose, again, since I'm doubling it, of soy sauce. So I'm just going to kind of do now. So it's a tablespoon of soy sauce, and since I'm doubling it, I am doing 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. Just, you know, anytime you're doing a soy sauce based recipe, you shouldn't need to add extra salt, just because soy sauce is ridiculously salty as it is. Like, there's 26% of your sodium intake in a tablespoon, so there you go. So soy sauce. And then I'm using real ginger. You can use powder in its place, should you feel so inclined. Then sesame oil, bitch to open. And that is a tablespoon, and this normally comes out in Like it's a fairly small opening. So soy sauce. Mix that shit in. Excuse like the stains and shit on my counter. That's all from food coloring from cupcakes that were made last week. So there's your sesame oil. And then, so that's it for sauces. So, hold on. So just take a little whisk or a fork or whatever. Stir that shit up. Then, the key, when you're doing homemade sauces, they're not super thick. Like if you see like that, it's quite watery. Even though the hoisin sauce is pretty thick. This isn't gonna make up that nice kind of glaze that you like, that you should want in a stir fry. So this is where the cornstarch comes in, because cornstarch is a thickening agent, so it will make your sauce nice and thick and stuff. So with cornstarch though, you never want to just add straight up cornstarch right into your sauce, because it'll get all clumpy and it's super nasty. So what you do is you take, there's a couple tablespoons of water in a little dish. And then you want to just take your cornstarch. I'm going to use a couple tablespoons because it's a fairly large sauce. So you take that, and then you just want to whisk the cornstarch up in the water. So you'll end up with sort of like a paste, almost like it's pretty thick, but you need to mix cornstarch with water ahead of time before adding it into your sauce, or it will just turn into a clumpy, gloopy mess. So just mix that in. There you go, and there is your sauce ready to go. Okay, so now for the cooking part. I use a wok for my stir fry, but you don't have to. You can use whatever frying pan you have. Since I don't eat meat, I am making a tofu stir fry, which is what's cooking right now. So this is just smoked tofu I'm just cooking up. You can use obviously whatever meat you want. If you're doing chicken, you want to get the pieces fairly thin. Like you don't want huge, massive chunks in it, just because it takes it over and is kind of gross. So just cut up your chicken fairly small. So with stir fry, you want high heat. You want to get your oven up fairly high because, yeah, that's just the best idea. So I cook with safflower oil. It's just a really nice neutral oil. You don't ever want to cook or do stir fry, especially with olive oil. Just letting you know, because olive oil has a really high smoke, or really low smoke point. So it will burn super easily and is really unhealthy for you if it does burn. So stick with like safflower oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, any of those neutral oils are fine. So you put your oil in there and just let it warm up. The advantages with woks are they have really thin bottoms, so things get really hot really fast. But you can also stir fry in just like a basic fry pan as well. So I'm going to let that warm up. Okay, so I'm going to add my garlic. And so that was a tablespoon of garlic. You can put however much you want in. I like garlic. So add the garlic into the oil. Woo! And just kind of swirl it around until it kind of, this flavors the oil and just makes everything taste delicious. So you just let that cook for a little bit. Doesn't have to be long. Then I add in my onions before anything else because I like my onions to be a little softer. So you cook the onions, and you can let those sit for a few minutes. I'm going to flip. Woo! This oven is hot. My tofu over. And again, if you're going to cook with chicken or any protein, you cook your chicken separately and you cook it ahead of everything else. So Cook your chicken in a separate pan. And make sure it's obviously fully cooked because ain't nobody like no salmonella. Go back to my onions. With onions, you know that they're cooked when they kind of get transparent. Like their color gets less white and more clear. Does that make sense? Smells delicious. So cook those up. And then you add in the rest of your vegetables. Again, just make sure that they're tossed nicely in your oil. And kind of let those sit for a minute. Okay, so the key with stir fry is to not get it too cooked. Like you don't want your vegetables raw, but nor do you want them super soft. So a tip with broccoli specifically is when you're cooking it, it'll change color slightly. So it starts off as kind of like a dull green, but you see it gets much brighter. So you see how it's like a brighter green now? That's a good sign. You want your broccoli to be a nice bright green. Yeah, so just cook. You don't want things to sit too long without moving. Like don't let it sit for 10 minutes just cooking because then the shit on the bottom is going to get burnt and nasty. So just keep stirring that up. Okay, so we've got things that's been on here for a few minutes. I like to just take a fork and if you can pierce your vegetable and the fork goes in easily but it's not like mushy, you're good. So at this point I turn the heat down just a little bit and I've just diced up my tofu. Toss that shit in and just mix it all together. Then we get our sauce, so I just give it sort of one more whisk up. Got this at the dollar store, by the way, little mini whisk. It's freaking handy as hell. So then just pour your sauce over. Okay, so then you just start mixing your sauce in. The thing, since it's got cornstarch in it, as the sauce warms up, it thickens, and so you can see how it's forming like a nice glaze on the food. That's what you want. You want it to be almost caramelized, so it's like a nice sticky sort of consistency. And so there you go. You've got a nice saucy stir fry. Okay, so I serve my stir fry over, for me, when I'm eating it, over cauliflower rice, which is literally just like kind of blended up cauliflower that has a rice-like texture. So then all you do is take a spoon, put it over. Like I said, I would suggest if you're doing rice, do sticky rice. Otherwise, do noodles. Noodles are the bomb. So there you go. And then the other thing I like to put on my stir fries because it's delicious is cilantro, which is just a flavorful herb. Comes in a big bunch and is delicious. And then there you go. You have a stir fry that is delicious, easy. Again, this is a sweet and sour one, so you like the taste might not be to your liking, like flavor-wise, I don't know, but it's an easy one to start with. And I would normally also add crushed peanuts on top of there because it's just peanuts and stir fries are really good, but I don't have any, so there you go. I will send you. I'll type out the ingredients and the measurements for you, and we'll send it along with the video once I edit it all together to make it flow properly. But there you go, stir fry. Very easy, very tasty, very easy to make healthy. And yeah, there you go.